I get to see things that most people never get to see. I work as an environmental engineer for more than 20 municipalities that have manufacturing facilities or industries that make things, such as cars, food, and electronics. I evaluate data for these communities to help them regulate industrial wastewater. And tonight, I want to use what I see to help you understand what wastewater is and our human connection to our water resource. At this point, you might really be curious why wastewater is so special. It is. And if you bear with me, I want to start with the water in our homes. We have an endless supply of water that we use to wash our hands, take our shower, and cook our dinner. But most of us don't get to see where our water comes from, either the ground via a well or a river or lake via a water plant that cleans our water before it goes into our homes. We don't think about the amount of time we leave the faucet running, or the amount of soap that we use to wash dishes, or the wipes and feminine products that seem to magically disappear. But the waste in our wastewater does not disappear. I get to see where these products go, where wastewater and what we humans add to it travels in pipes to wastewater plants, where it's cleaned and goes back to the river. Note that a wastewater plant looks really similar to a drinking water plant, but one's bringing water in from the river and the other gives it back. Coming at this from a different angle, I want to connect humans to our water cycle. Starting really basic, it rains in one place, evaporation turns the water into clouds, and it falls back down to the ground somewhere else. Humans complicate this by moving the water from the ground into our homes. We flush dirty water down the drain to a wastewater plant where it's cleaned and goes back to the river. And we can't forget industries that are part of our communities. They also use clean water and generate wastewater, but they use more water, and the waste added is not the same as from houses. Of the fresh water available on this earth, very little is used residentially. Households use less than 10% of our water supply, compared to agricultural and industries that use the remaining 90%. Here in St. Louis, we're known for our excellent water quality, and we're proud to supply the nation with beer. But did you know it takes between 5 and 10, some industries I go to, up to 100 gallons of clean water to make just 1 gallon of beer? None of us get to see all the water it takes to make our beer, or that most of it turns into wastewater and goes down the drain. And this wastewater from industries and households has to be cleaned up before it goes back to the river. And the process is not magical. Some things have to be physically removed, such as wipes, feminine products, and sometimes even food. But our wastewater process was designed to remove human waste. The poop that we flush becomes food for microorganisms that are encouraged to eat and grow. I want to rephrase that to make sure that you guys are following. Our wastewater treatment process is alive with bugs that literally eat our shit. These are the superheroes that make our waste disappear. And they have favorite foods. Some like BOD, or biological oxygen demand, which us humans contribute as poop. Others like ammonia, which we see as pee. and others provide more advanced treatment for removal of pollutants like nitrogen and phosphorus. As an environmental engineer, I evaluate wastewater data to understand what pollutants come from households and what pollutants come from industries, because what industries make impacts the type of wastewater that goes down the drain. Some waste is considered food for the bugs, and other waste our bugs would never eat. I get to see wastewater generated from making rotisserie chickens. This type of wastewater has BOD, which the bugs love. I also get to see where automobile components are dipped into tanks of chemicals with hexavalent chromium. Aaron Brockovich taught us about this toxic metal, and just like humans, it can harm or even kill our wastewater-eating bugs. Very similar to our human gut, these bugs can sometimes be exposed to too much food or chemicals that make them acutely or chronically sick, and sometimes their entire population can be wiped out, which means our wastewater is not getting treated. Today, we can't talk about water without talking about PFAS, spelled P-F-A-S. PFAS are man-made, fluorinated, forever compounds that we use and benefit from every day. Things like nonstick skillets, water-repellent clothing, grease-resistant food packaging, and firefighting foam. These chemicals have been in production since the 1940s, but it's only recently that their negative health impacts have come to light and that new regulations are being proposed and adopted. If you want to learn more about PFAS and go deeper, you can watch a movie called Dark Waters. It's based on a true story, and it's pretty easy to find on streaming channels. I'd highly recommend it if you haven't already watched it. But for the purposes of our conversation, PFAS are an example of industries that use a chemical that gets into our wastewater. And PFAS are an example of a pollutant that is not food for our wastewater bugs, meaning it passes through the wastewater treatment process and goes back to the river, the same river where our drinking water originates. PFAS are found everywhere, and their bonds are so strong and they're so difficult to break apart. And it's these same properties that make them amazing in our everyday life that also make them one of the biggest problems that our water industry has ever had to face. Even with the new regulations, it will take years and billions of dollars to recover from the impact that these forever chemicals have had on our water environment and our health. It's also worth noting that the new regulations limit a few of the literally thousands of potential PFAS that might be in our drinking water. And the new regulations do not prevent manufacturing facilities from using this class of compounds. And this all ties back to our water cycle. The future of water is even more circular. New water systems are being designed today that skip the river and send wastewater back to the tap. Toilet to tap is a phrase that's been coined to give us a realistic picture of this concept. It's really happening. Because of this, and even without it, we need to be aware of the pollutants in our wastewater and understand the fate in the treatment process, because what we flush will be our drinking water another day. I'm asking you to be a conscious consumer. Purchase your food, clothing, cosmetics, and cookware from environmentally responsible companies to help minimize the impact from the manufacturing process. And in your homes, think about what goes down the drain. Don't flush wipes, and don't put grease from cooking down your drain. I personally don't drink bottled water because I try to avoid plastic use, and because I trust our public water supply and the water coming out of our tap more than the standards for the bottled water industry. Our public water system is important, and it's facing challenges such as infrastructure that's getting old, a workforce that is aging, and upgrades that are needed to meet these new regulations. To face these challenges, we need public support of funding, and we need people, especially young people, that can help our future water story get more data with a better understanding of the pollutants in our wastewater that can be paired with more advanced treatment. In closing, remember this: every flush matters. Whether it's from industries or households, humans impact our water. I hope you now see and understand the waste in our wastewater.